The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And a Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 601, Mr. Somich.
What? You missed 600, man. What's going on? You're not even there for the big shows anymore.
I was here for 600. It was 2 weeks ago.
Oh, that's right. Never mind. You missed 599. Oh, no,
Yeah.
we skipped last week. I'm all over the place. You're right.
Off to a great start in the new era.
Mike makes a mistake. Huzzah! Just get it out of the way early, right?
There you go. Listen, I love this sequence that we're going to cover. This is a really fun one. Travers Stakes, Saratoga, the biggest weekend of the year biggest day of the year for Saratoga. One of the biggest days of the year just overall. 5 grade 1 races, all in a mandatory pay pick 5. That's not the late pick 5, which is awesome. So everything that goes in's got to get paid out. That's good for us. My one complaint, if I had one, there's no turf racing. They don't have any turf grade 1s on the card. The only reason I complain is I like a little variety, and I feel like I'm better overall when I'm handicapping turf races. But as far as these grade 1 races go, I mean, you've got champions in every single one of them. Some of them we think are slam dunks. Some of them, one or two of us are taking shots against. So it's a really fun sequence.
Yeah, this is interesting. It is a sequence where you kind of have to decide, specifically in the last race, what are you doing? You have to decide which favorites you want to try and fade, which favorites you want to be. I don't think this is a great 50-cent sequence unless you are trying to get around multiple favorites in the middle legs, because it feels like first and last leg there are pretty not vulnerable favorites, or there's a horse that I want to try and fade. We'll talk about that a little bit later when we get to the Travers. So to me, this is definitely one of those sequences where you're laddering, right? You're playing a 50-cent ticket if you want. You're playing a $1 ticket. You're playing a $5 ticket. You're playing a $10 ticket, whatever it is, and then just getting shorter and shorter as you move up the ladder to try and really capitalize on your opinion. So I've got a $20 ticket today. I don't think I've ever had a $20 ticket, Magic, and guess what? It's 5 singles. That's right. We're just going to try and go cold through this pick 5 sequence and see if we can hit it pretty hard. I want to get to the last leg and be live to magnitude. And I want to be, because I do think that, was my mic off?
No, you're good.
I'm good?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not a different mic. Let me,
you don't have that one.
Yeah. Okay. Let me. I'll work it out when you're talking. But yeah, it's to me the big thing is, can you create the value around magnitude? Because I do think you're getting more than 2-to-1 in the multi-race bets, where you're not going to get it inside of the shorter bets.
Yeah, we got.
Okay, I should be good now.
Yeah. Oh, that's much better. Way more better. Yep. I saw.
Yep. On the right mic now.
There we go. Alpha Omega Stable said if Dettori's riding, bet him. Dettori's only got 3 rides at Saratoga, and his races 4, 5, and 8. None of them that we're covering. I was like, where is Dettori? I don't remember seeing him. He's just not there. But speaking of Saratoga, nobody's been hotter at Saratoga than you have been, because didn't you just absolutely demolish yesterday at Saratoga, the pick 4 and pick 5?
Yeah, it's been a fun meet. So last year I cashed close to 30,000 at Saratoga through the full meet on the Somobombs. We're over 30K already. We've had at least a $2,000 day every single weekend. We had a $6,000 day last Thursday. We had a $9,000 day yesterday. So Saratoga's it's been a phenomenal meet for me. We just want to keep it rolling here through the last couple weekends, but it has been unbelievable, and it's always fun when my dad plays them as well, because he'll go to the track and he can't bet pick 5s because he doesn't have a legal wagering state unless he's at the track. And he has been there the last 2 Thursdays. So I've gotten the cash out pictures from him where he's taking 15K out of the track on those 2 days. So he's been pretty happy with what the Bombs have been doing. Hopefully we can keep it hot here on a Saturday. I got to say, the early part of this card is wide open. I think if you hit a monster pick 5, it's early on the card. And then later on the card, you have to be right and have it a lot of times if you're trying to cash out a big number.
I was just tipping the camera down to get better in frame, and then I realized. So if you see me at a weird angle or looking down a lot, I'm literally feeding my baby while we do the show. Sometimes you got to make sacrifices for the people. So I wanted to make sure I was here for the show, and Chloe's just along for the ride. She was staring at Mike the whole time we were in prep. So and now the sound of my voice has put her right to sleep, which is a great sign as always. But yeah, I'm glad that you've been having a great meet at Saratoga. You started hot and it hasn't slowed down. So we'll keep that train rolling. And then episode 600 did give out the pick 5 on the show 2 weeks ago. So we've both been very hot here at Saratoga. You've been much hotter than I am. That was my one big hit. I haven't really played it nearly as often. But yeah, very excited for it. Let's just get into it. We've got 5 races, all grade 1s on the dirt. 3 of them are 7 furlongs, which is a tricky distance. We both love to handicap. We're a little sick like that. But let's dive right into it, buddy. The all grade 1 pick 5 with the mandatory payout Saturday at Saratoga. Riders up! All right, kicking off this mandatory pay pick 5 at Saratoga on Saturday, August 23rd. We're starting with race 9, the grade 1 personal Ensign Stakes. 7 older fillies and mares going a mile and an eighth. And I think this is one of the first questions you have to answer as bettors, handicappers, is Torpedo Anna, the 6-5 favorite. I think that for me, Mike, is a dichotomy of her best races in her career, I think, have all been at Saratoga, even the loss in the Travers. But she also hasn't looked like the same Torpedo Anna that she was last year. So what do you do with the defending champ?
Well, it's funny that people say that because I mean, last year she was facing just 3-year-olds, right? And she was absolutely destroying them, including the best horse in the class. You're facing older now, so I think it does make it a little bit more difficult from that front. And outside of the La Troyenne, where she just didn't fire, period, end of story, don't worry about it. I think she's been pretty good. I mean, she wasn't really tuned up for the Apple Blossom. The Fleur de Lis, she looked a lot more like herself in that race. Was able to sit close to the pace and just run away from him late. And I look through this field, and you've got Randomized, who's coming off a graded stakes win. You've got Darth Vader, who's coming off, who had a graded stakes win 2 back. Leslie's Rose coming off a graded stakes win. So it's one of those fields that it looks like it is very competitive. When you try and like boil it down, though, Randomized won because of the track. That was a day that I know Aaron and I both picked her in that spot at the Molly Pletcher, where she was loose on the lead going a mile and 16th. Now she's going a mile and an eighth, and you have Dazzling Move to the outside. Raging Sea's a beaten favorite in her last 2 races after she won the grade 1 La Troyenne, which just hasn't come back very good. Darth Vader won 2 back in the Ogden Phillips because of the racetrack, and that was a sloppy day where she just sat the perfect trip. I can immediately, in my mind, knock down 3 of the 4 competitors, right? And so then it leaves me with the 6 and the 7, Leslie's Rose and Torpedo Anna. And well, Leslie's Rose is getting better, and I do respect Leslie's Rose, and I'm going to use Leslie's Rose on the dollar ticket. On the presses, I'm just going to single Torpedo Anna because I do think she is simply the best horse here. If she runs back to her Travers, she wins this race by, 15 lengths, 20 lengths?
Yeah.
Like, as much as she wants. And if you look at her, like, and that's her A+ effort, if you look at her other efforts at Saratoga, they're good enough to win this race as well. And so for me, I'm going to single Torpedo Anna on the press tickets, but I do respect Leslie's Rose's improvement and what she was able to do in the last race. And I think that was the least fluky of the graded stakes wins you have from the other horses that are on this card. And so I'll use the 6 as well on the dollar ticket, but everything I'm pressing, it's going to be pressed through the 7, Torpedo Anna.
Yeah, we saw this race very similarly. Top pick, Torpedo Anna. I have just a 50-cent ticket that's only $45. You want to press it for 90, go right ahead. But I went 6-7 in here as well. And I think that when they met up last year, 3 different instances, Leslie's Rose forget the Kentucky Oaks. She ran okay in the other 2 spots. They tried sending her in the CCA Oaks to try and get the jump on Torpedo Anna because they'd lost to her the last 2 races. It didn't work out, but that effort in the Chuvy, she just destroyed those fillies, just destroyed them. So if there's a chance, on the off chance the 7 isn't the same Torpedo Anna, or she gets some trip trouble or what have you, this 6 I think is the most likely winner. But from a pace angle, the 1 is going to go. She's got the rail. The 2 is going to go. She tried going to the lead the last 3 starts. You'd expect that that's probably going to be the move again. The 4, she's probably more of a tracker, stalker, but the 5 is going to run. She was cross-centered in a race today, Friday at Saratoga. They scratched her out to run her there. And I respect the connections for doing it because she's a New York bred who's won multiple stakes races, and she's earned close to $500,000. So you take a shot and see if you get grade 1 placing. Maybe you can finish 3rd behind some of these horses. So, but she's another one that's just a pure burner on the front end. Torpedo Anna, we know, can stalk and pounce. You look at last year's Fantasy Stakes, she sits back and can make a big move, and the same for the 6 Leslie's Rose. So 6-7 for us, and 7 if you're pressing. Yeah, Torpedo Anna's got to be the way to go.
I am playing a couple tournaments, and this is going to be a race that I bet in tournaments because I do like the 7-6 exacta cold as well. And I'm hoping that you get some value with the 6 and second because the 1 randomized, the 3 Raging Sea, and the 4th Darth Vader all should be right around. Like, I do agree that the second choice in this race, I think, is going to be Leslie's Rose, but I don't think it's going to be Leslie's Rose at 2-1 or 5-2. I think it's going to be Leslie's Rose around 7-2, 4-1, somewhere in that range. I also like Darth Vader quite a bit in third. So I think you can even play a 7-4 or 7-6-4 cold try too, because I do think Darth Vader, who's a Johnny Tryhard horse, I think she'll stick around. And I don't think randomized sticks around. I don't think Raging Sea is able to really close from the back. And the 2 and the 5, I think, are pace dependent, and they're facing a hot pace here. So I think the 7-6-4 is a pretty nice cold try in this spot too.
Gervin as a sire has had some sneaky, really good fillies and mares come out. Stunner's a stakes winner, but then you think about Atomically. She's in the juvenile fillies. She was a dominating horse in Florida. Of course, Darth Vader. Then Faiza. Remember Faiza for Bob Baffert from a few years ago. Gervin's been I'm not going to say he's the new Bernardini, but he's like a poor man's Bernardini right now with turning out some really good mares and fillies underneath him. All right, race number 10 is going to be the second leg of the pick 5, and not late pick 5, the all grade 1 pick 5, and the first of 3 straight going 7 furlongs on the dirt. I don't know about you, I get excited when I see that because I'm like, oh, this is turf racing and 7 furlongs on the dirt in a normal track setup. Those are my bread and butter. This is the Jerkens $500,000 purse for straight 3-year-olds, and Bob Baffert has not 1, not 2, 3 runners headed here. Midland Money, who I forgot existed, Barnes, who I forgot was alive, and Madacat Road, who I forgot was even worthy of trying a grade 1. So, all that said, where are you going on top?
First off, the Madacat Road slander needs to stop. This was, I have been saying this was your best Baffert horse. Madacat Road has had a very good career as a 3-year-old here. Yeah. Not gotten injured at any point. Has run second in a bunch of races. I get it, doesn't win, but hits the board. I don't think Madacat Road can win. I do think this is just fascinating because we rarely see 3 Bafferts in a New York race. And we rarely see a situation where you've got to decide, okay, what am I going to do? Because the Bafferts likely control the pace here, which is the thing that we see in California a lot, especially going 2 turns, is you're going to have to deal with which Baffert goes, which Baffert sits. Do you want the one that goes, the one that sits? How do you play it? And then you got Patch Adams on the rail, who drew the absolute worst post to be affected by the trickery that we're going to see from the 3 Baffert runners here. So yeah, I am a huge Patch Adams fan. I picked Patch Adams the last 2 races. Patch Adams won both of those races. I've said that, this horse cutting back could be one of the Breeders' Cup Sprint contenders. I still believe that, but I can't put Patch Adams on top here. I actually landed on the 3 Barnes for Baffert here, who I think is going to sit right outside of Midland Money from a pace perspective. And much like Patch Adams, and we talked about Patch Adams here, where when this horse cut back, when it came off the Derby trail, you saw the best version of Patch Adams. Well, you go back and you look at Barnes, and you look at what Barnes has done sprinting. It's pretty darn impressive, man. Like, this horse won easy on debut, won easy second time out going 7 furlongs, was a 2-5 favorite against Journalism, by the way, in the San Felipe, and then just didn't run well in the San Diego Derby. The fact that Baffert decides to bring this horse back here and cut back in distance, I think is just really, really interesting. I expect that you see Midland Money go. I'm not sure the trip you get for Verifier here because I just don't know if Verifier is fast enough to try and get past Midland Money. And I think Barnes forces Verifier wide here if you do try and go forward. I think Barnes is the one that ends up sitting the trip. And so I have the 3 Barnes on top. I'm going to press with a couple horses in here on a $5 ticket, the $20 ticket. I'm just going to use the 3 Barnes.
Yeah, but I thought the most talented Baffert horse was probably going to be Barnes, but I remember out of the San Vicente even saying, like, this horse is not a true route horse. I mean, you look at the breeding on both sides, and it's like, Into Mischief is extremely talented as a sire, right? You don't need to, but his progeny are only as good as what the dam side can provide. The dam side provided a lot of sprint racing, and I love that he was the 2-5 favorite in the San Felipe against Journalism, because that was a nice cash on Journalism.
Yeah, Journalism was fun there.
Here's an odd stat. The last 5 years in Saratoga Grade 1 races, Baffert's had 16 total entries. Do you know how many of those he's won out of 16 entries?
I'm going to go with 1.
You're close. It's 2. National Treasure in the Met Mile, and then there was a filly a few years ago.
Yeah, National Treasure is the one I remembered. So I just was assuming that was the only one.
Yeah. So he's sending, the fact that he's sending 3 in here, I read it the same way that Mark Heff kind of asked, like with 3 horses in here as a show, he's just throwing darts rather than having confidence. Yeah, kind of. I think I agree with you in the sense that of the 3 he has, that's the best one to use. But if he wins this, I'm going to put the 3 Barnes on as like my last horse in this race. I went 4 deep now. Top play for me is the undefeated Verifier, the 5 horse. 3 starts, 3 wins. He's climbing the ladder, and I like that he breaks the maiden at Colonial. That was Virginia Derby weekend when they had that track lightning fast. And okay, he gets a big speed figure, but he comes out of that and backs it up at Pimlico with another huge effort. And then without Lasix for the first time, that's like the big test, right? Like he's had Lasix 2 starts. How's he going to do? Well, he gets a career best buyer beating horses into Maxfield. You had Smokin' Wicked in there, Captain Cook in there. Talented horses for that race. And now this is the next step for him. Flavian Pratt, you've got to think with 3 Bafferts coming into town, Pratt probably had options. And he's going to stick with Brad Cox here with the 5 Verifiers. So I'll stick with Verifier as well. I think that he's tactical enough that he doesn't need to be on the lead, but he'll be forwardly placed. And I'm a little concerned with what we've seen historically at Saratoga. On big days, that main track can be pretty souped up for speed. So I don't know that I want to take horses coming from dead last to win some of these races. So I'll put him on top.
Yeah, I get it. I am worried about the step up. I mean, the waters are a lot deeper. Yeah, Smokin' Wicked's nice. Captain Cook's nice. Neither of us are using either of them in this race, though.
Correct.
Right? I mean, I'm going to assume. I didn't see
right.
it, but I don't think either of us using them. You're also jumping up from 118 to 124 pounds while taking on significantly better horses than you've ever faced. And the combination of those 2 things kind of kept me off. I agree with you. Pratt probably had options. I also don't think he was ever leaving this horse. So I don't think those options really matter, right? Even if he got offered the ride on Midland money, which I would be surprised if he didn't, since he was on that horse winning at 6 furlongs, you're always taking Verifier over the Baffert horse there in Midland money. So I think that this is a situation where I'm not going to read too much into the jockey spot there. I am going to use Midland money. And this is the one where I went back and forth on 8-1 on the morning line. This is your speed of the speed. And you mentioned how sometimes these Saratoga tracks play really well toward speed on these big days. I think Midland money is able to get loose. I think Midland money has Barnes as a blocker. I think Madacat Road is forwardly placed and doesn't pass Midland money. There's a world where this is Baffert. And if you want to get past any of them, you're going 4 wide. And if that's the case and Verifier is behind that group, I think that that's going to make it very difficult. Now, if Verifier tries to get in the firing line, I think you're going to see a hot pace, and it sets up well for someone like Patch Adams. I will say this. We have mentioned the speed and how well Saratoga plays toward the speed. You got to remember, too, 7 furlongs on these big days is where you get some wonky stuff happening. And we've got 3 of these 7 furlong races. I don't think there's enough pace in here for me to be overly worried about it. I think there is quite a bit, but I think 3 of the 4 logical speed horses are all Bafferts, which means it's going to slow down the early tempo that you could possibly see. So I don't think this is a collapse race. I do think you have a shot to see a collapse here in the next couple, though.
Swing, tentpole.
Used him yesterday. He helped me in that pick 5. I will say this. If Joel just has a speed horse that's supposed to go, he doesn't ride him bad as long as he actually sends them. And normally in this spot, like for Baffert, he's going to send this horse. With Asserson horses, he sends the horse. So I realize I am using a Baffert Rosario horse, which I don't think I've ever used at Saratoga in my life. But here we are. You got to adjust with the times. By the way, Baffert and Jose Ortiz, the 3 Barnes, never had a ride together in the last 2 years. This is the first time Jose Ortiz will be on a Baffert horse, which is shocking.
Yeah, what the hell is happening there? And it's not the only Baffert he's riding on this card.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. But hey, here you go, right? So I'm going to use on the dollar ticket, I'm using the 1, 2, 3. I think Patch Adams, so I still respect the heck out of, may be able to make a trip. Saez is going to be kind of jammed in on the rail. We'll see if he can find room top of the stretch to be able to go to the inside, or if you have horses like Barnes or like Madacat Road or like Verifier that are coming back to you a little bit, he'll be able to find a gap and push through. I do think that like Patch Adams is the best horse in this race. I'm just really concerned about the trip. So 1, 2, 3 for me on my dollar ticket.
By the way, one time in the last 5 years, Jose Ortiz teamed up with Bob Baffert, and they ran second in a New York bred optional claiming race with Tail of the Union at Belmont Park, October 2020. So it's almost outside of the the 5-year parameter that DRF even lets you look at. Pretty wild. The other horse I used is the 4 Chancer McPatrick. And this is another one, like Patch Adams, we both agreed with Barnes. Like, these are horses probably better suited for a 1-turn mile, 7 furlong setup. I was never a Chancer McPatrick fan going 2 turns. I didn't like him in the Juvenile because he was a late closer. I didn't like him in the Tampa Bay Derby, the Bluegrass. I didn't like him in the Curlin. I know that was a much easier race. It was restricted to non-winners of a stakes race going 2 turns. But the fact that he won at a mile and an eighth and now cuts back to 7 furlongs, and there is a dearth of speed in here, I'm going to put Chancer McPatrick on the ticket here because this is a race, a setup that I always thought was going to ultimately be his best, which is going 1 turn, unleash that late closing kick. He won the Hopeful here. He broke his maiden here. I talked about the Curlin. The Woody Stevens, that's the only time he's been on a wet track. Maybe he just really hated the wet going. Maybe it was a spot because Patch Adams was on the front end and never relinquished. Madacat Road was right there with him. Like, most horses didn't close. Big Truz was about the only one in that race who did, and Big Truz ended up winning the Ellis Park Derby a couple starts later. So I'm going to put him on there. It's Irad, it's Chad with the horse. It's got a really good, strong late closing kick. As long as we get fast dirt, and we should, I think that he's going to be one when you're getting to the 8th pole. You're going to see him rolling. It's just a matter of, does he get there in time?
Yeah, this is, I mean, I don't think you ever get a fair price on Chancer McPatrick, and that's my biggest issue. I think 5-1 is too short. I thought that last time out, 5-1 was too short on Chancer McPatrick. So this is just a horse I don't end up betting because of that hopeful win. It feels like his prices have been deflated. I mean, that race at $4.30 to 1 in the Curlin against a pretty weak field when you looked at it. Was the shortest or longest price he has been since he won the Hopeful. And I think he gets some support on Saturday. I think people make the case that you're making where, hey, this could collapse. And if it does, Chancer McPatrick's the best chance to do it. I just think if it collapses, Patch Adams is the one who's able to beat him. And I don't think he is good enough to flip the table on Patch Adams here. So I didn't use Chancer McPatrick mainly because of if Chancer McPatrick was 15-1 here, all right, let's talk about it, but at 5-1, it just feels way too short for me.
The third leg of the all Grade 1 Pick 5 sequence at Saratoga. The Resorts World Casino Ballerina Stakes, Grade 1, 7 furlongs for fillies and mares. This is a Breeders' Cup winning year for the filly and mare sprint, right? That's what it's called, filly and mare sprint. 9 runners set to go postward here. I never know what to do with the 7 Scylla. She's bred through the purple, but she always gets bet. You want to talk about a horse that never lives up to those lofty odds that she goes off at? Oh man, what did you do with this race?
So the 7 was tough because I know I just gave Rosario some flowers. Rosario off for Pratt's a huge move, right? And this is a horse that has always seemed to have talent, but doesn't win enough for me. I realize it's won 5 out of 13 starts, and that's great. 0 for 3 at Saratoga, 0 for 4 at the distance. So right there, that's 2 issues. If you go back to when she was winning, it was going a mile. It was going a mile and a 16th, a mile and an eighth. This sprinting thing has not really worked out for her. Now, the buyers all fit. You could make a case from a numbers perspective that she fits in this field, but should she be a 5-2 favorite? No. I'm not going to use this horse because I think, well, first off, I like a horse quite a bit in this spot, but I also feel like this is just way too short of a price for a horse that's yet to prove it to me. And why am I going to bet a favorite when I haven't even seen that favorite win at the distance or over the track? So I'm going to pass on the 7 here. Give me the number 5 on top, and the 5 is going to be a single in both press tickets here. Clarette Beret. 6-1 on the morning line for Safi Joseph Jr. and Irad Ortiz. And I got to give Aaron some flowers here. He picked this horse in the Chicago, ran second at 10-1, ran very well. I did not pick it because it was second time Safi, first time Safi outside of Florida. But I thought that was a really impressive race. Lost to Vava, who we know is a phenomenal horse, especially Churchill, especially going 7. So there's really no shame in that at all. But more so, it backed up the number that we saw at Gulfstream. Yes. A lot of times when these horses switch barns, you see a big pop. And then the question is, was it the barn switch? Was it the horse getting better? Are we going to be able to replicate that? Claret Beret replicated it. And so now I believe that is what you should be expecting from Claret Beret moving forward. And with no Vava in here, I think this is a softer spot for Claret Beret. I think this is a beautiful setup. I think the pace is going to be wicked fast in this race. And this is one of those where, like, if you want to take a shot on somebody coming from the clouds, I think this is your collapse race of the 7 furlong races. That helps Claret Beret in this spot as well. So I'm going to take the 5 Claret Beret on top here, 6-1.
Same top pick for me. And for every reason you mentioned, the Chicago race really backed it up. And to lose by 3/4 of a length to Vava, if Vava's in this race, she's 8-5 morning line, right? 7,
Yep.
Like, she's a clear standout. I don't think we're gonna get 6-1, but I do agree that this is the top play for me, and I love that after Arietta and Micah Husbands rode Claret Beret. No offense to them, they're good for where they usually ride their races. You're getting Irad riding for Safi. I mean, calm the F on. This is a clear sign that this horse should be ready to go. Nick Stevens, every YouTube show has Claret Beret. Okay, well, that's not good.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
She's the wise guy horse in here. That's bad.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, like, it's funny because, like, I don't know. We talked about this a couple times. Aaron and I have. You and I have. The most frustrating thing is if you had bet Claret Beret last time at 10-1, you know you're never getting 10-1 again. Like, you're not getting that price back at this level. And so 6-1, I was hoping we get somewhere around 4-1. We'll see if that actually happens. But based on the last two, and you got to really just look at these horses' last 2 races, because those are the races in the Safi barn. And you know, yes, Safi upstate and NY, not good. I agree with Rob. But Safi in Kentucky, usually not good. And we just saw this horse run really well in Kentucky. And it's one that did show talent early on in her career. So I think she's tough to get around. I really hope we don't get 2-1, though. That would be frustrating. I do think she plays better than 2-1 in multis, even if she goes off at 2-1, though.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's with the pick 5. That's kind of the better case scenario. I did use Scylla in here, the second horse for me, not just because of Pratt riding specifically, but because of what I think Pratt's going to do with her. If you look, so this is going to sound weird. Ignore her races in 2025. You look at the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint. She was forwardly placed, was within a length of winning it. Prior to that, forwardly placed, more so than usual, though she has been this year. She's looking pretty good. I think Pratt is not going to do what Rosario did, which was fall asleep at the break and let everybody go and just churn up late for a second beaten 8 lengths kind of a setup. I think you're going to get a ride like Castellano in this race last year, where she was more forwardly placed. The Clement All Hirsch, she was forwardly placed. The Fleur de Lis, the Shawnee, like these races where she's closer early, she's engaged mentally instead of just passing horses as they get tired. So I'm using her, hoping that that's the move that Pratt goes with in this spot. You don't need to be right up on the lead. I think there's a lot of speed and spit the bit in here, but I think this is also a horse that is better in her career when she is at least engaged more early on.
Yeah, and that to me is the key reason why I do we talk about Rosario a lot. I like him when he's just going. If he's on a speed horse and just has to go, that's great. If he's on a dead closer, that's fine, right? You have to find your trip, but that's fine. This is the style of horse he doesn't ride well. One that you should be sitting 2-3 lengths off the pace, that you're middling it. You're trying to save ground. And that's what Pratt does exceptionally well, right? And so this is one of those where the switch, I do think, makes a big difference here. But I couldn't swallow the price for a horse that just has been more successful going longer and hasn't won at the racetrack. And so for me, it was a pass there. I am going to use the Baffert here, the 9 Hope Road. To me, this is the speed of the speed. So I've got a horse in the 5 where if the speed comes back, I think I'm covered. The 9 horse, if this goes gate to wire, I think this is your really only option. 7 furlongs has been an issue. That to me is the main concern here. Has spit the bit twice going 7 furlongs, but did do that to Copian in both of the races. So, you know, there's like going 7 and quitting, and there's going 7 and getting beat by probably the best horse in this division. So I'm a little more willing to be able to forgive Hope Road for those 2 losses to Copian. I think that's why Hope Road's out here. It's like, okay, let's stop losing to Copian. Let's go find somewhere else and see if we can beat someone else inside this. So, give me the 9 Hope Road here as a second horse on.
It's crazy that a grade 1 winning you're in at Saratoga is going to be the easiest race that she's had in her last 5 starts. But Copian won 3 of those, and then the winning colors, not sure what exactly went wrong. Oh, Florent Drew was riding. That's what went wrong that day. But yeah, I didn't use this horse, but this is a huge class trap. Copian's going to train up to the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, it sounds like, for Mandela. He had briefly considered this race and then said no. And then you forgot about Sweet Azteca. That's the other one that's like the big champion. And she is running in the option that they had at Del Mar on Sunday, which is the Rancho Bernardo Handicap. But that's also a grade 3, $100,000 purse. At this point for Hope Road, you're trying to get that grade 1 win because she's got grade 1 placing. She's got multiple graded stakes placing, a grade 3 wins, but she doesn't have a grade 1 win. And that's, I think, another reason she's here. And I mean, she's a lot like her dam. Marley's Freedom was one hell of a sprinter, like a long sprinter for Bob Baffert. So didn't use her, but I think she does stand a good chance. It's just another curious case where you've got Jose Ortiz. Yeah. Right? And he's a great rider. I love Jose Ortiz. It's just weird that that's the guy that keeps getting these mounts when you have a Hall of Famer in John Velasquez who's riding my third choice, which is Brightwork.
Yeah, it is surprising. It is surprising you see Ortiz here, and I like that. To me, is the one head scratcher. I don't know. You always talk about the agents, right? Irad and Jose are the agents. I wonder if there was a call to Irad and the agents like, no, but Jose's available, right? He's 22% at Saratoga, right? If that's how we kind of worked out having 2 of these, but we'll see what Hope Road does. This is the thing for this division. This is a lighter grade 1. This is not like the best of the best that you could see. We mentioned 3 horses who are top in this class. None of them are here, right? And so that does make it a little more appealing for some of these horses.
Looking at the jockey standings, by the way, coming into today, Irad's at the top, no surprise. Jose's 5 wins behind him with 15 fewer mounts, so he's right there with it. I remember a couple of years, was it last year? I made the bold prediction that Jose was going to win the riding title. That didn't work out, but he's doing really well this year. I just wanted to cover my ass and say, look, I love Jose Ortiz. I just think it's odd that he's riding for Baffert. Anyways, two Brightwork. Go ahead.
He's winning with prices, too. Irad is not winning with prices. Jose is winning with prices. Anyway, let's get to some long shots, because we're both using prices here, and I actually like your 2-horse a little bit. This was the last off my ticket.
So if you just zero in on Brightworks races at Saratoga, she's like 3-1 in this race. The problem is she doesn't take her races outside, but the fact that she's 3 for 3 at this track, that she won as a 2-year-old, that she came back and won the prior S as a 3-year-old, and now as a 4-year-old, she's only had 2 starts, but you're getting John Velasquez to ride her. There's still more left in Brightwork, and she's sprinting 7 furlongs, which I think is a good spot for her. So it's a total long shot play in here, but I was like, if she wins this, would I be surprised? No. Would I be very pissed off if I don't have her on my ticket? Absolutely. So 15-1 Brightwork for me.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk you out Brightwork here. You mentioned the Saratoga. This is what we call a squint handicap, because you really have to squint to be able to pick out the lines that you want to focus on if you're going to take Brightwork. The thing with the squint handicap, though, if you're getting 15-1, squint away, right? If the horse is 2-1, you shouldn't be having to do that, right? And this is one of those spots where the price is right on Brightwork. I did not use this horse. Like I said, this was the last horse off my ticket. If I was going to play a 50-cent ticket and really spread around in a couple of these, Brightwork would have made the ticket. I'm hoping this one does not beat me on Saturday, because I will be very sad, because this is a horse that I love. I had a big cash when she beat Ways and Means at Saratoga. And I like the John Velasquez move. Talking about someone who wins with prices at Saratoga, Velasquez, he wins with prices at Saratoga. So I wouldn't be shocked if the 2-horse is the one walking into the winner's circle here. But I'm going to go right to the outside. And I had not heard this here. Rob saying, thought the 3 was going to be the wise guy play. Supposedly the numbers are impressive on Thorograph. I really like this 3 cutting back. And if this race falls apart, which I think is plausible that this race falls apart. Like if Hope Road goes, and if you see Mr. Lake go, and Helena's Fort goes, and My Main Squeeze goes, and all of a sudden you've got horses that maybe don't really want 7, that have to go 7. I think Majestic Ops is the one who really benefits from that collapse here. This is a horse that's been going 1 1/16 mile consistently. Did go 6 furlongs once back in the day. Has gone 7 a couple times. But now we're cutting back off what I thought was a career best effort in the Molly Pletcher. I thought that the effort right before it in the Lady's Secret was very good there as well. You've got back-to-back or 3 wins prior to the Molly Pletcher where you ran second, and you closed into a pace or got a little closer to Randomized, where Randomized was never losing that race going gate to wire. So the best you could do was run second in there. I like the cutback. I think this is, again, a benefit here from a horse who has early tactical speed or enough speed to stake within striking distance of this field and should have the most stamina coming home because of those longer races. So I'll take a shot here at 15-1 with Majestic Ops.
I do like that one as far as an underneath play. And again, I'm not, just like you said with Brightwork, I'm not talking about, there's definitely cases to be made there. And having that route stamina is really going to serve her well, I think, in the late stages. There was, I forget where, one of the notes on DRF from their handicapper. It wasn't for this race, but it said it for, maybe it was the Jerkens. Let me see if I can find it. You know that this horse is going to come running when everybody else starts to hail a cab at the 8th pole, which I thought was a great way of saying that they can't go 7 furlongs. This is one that should see out the distance, just a matter of how good will she be. Real quick before we move on, Dennis had asked our thoughts on Zeitlos. I think that she's a lot better at 6 furlongs. I think 7, this is one that's just too far.
Yeah, I think 7's a problem. Got beat last time by both of our top picks, Claret Beret. To me, it's too long, and you're also kind of covered, right?
Yeah.
The World Zeitlos wins would be a very odd one in my mind. Like when you try and pick out, okay, how is this trip going to work for Zeitlos to be able to get to the front? You're going to have to close, maybe sit back to mid-pack, and then just get a beautiful trip. But you'd also need horses like the 5 to not fire, horses like the 2 and the 3 to not fire, because I think all of them beat her if they fire their best race. And so, especially at 6-1, Zeitlos is tough. Now, does Zeitlos hit the board? Wouldn't be shocked. Yeah, you know what I mean? But does Zeitlos win the race? That would be surprising to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think if Zeitlos hits the board, she's third, beaten like 7 lengths again. Like, it's one of those cases where she just outlasts a lot of these horses. All right, the penultimate leg of the all Grade 1 Pick 5 with a mandatory payout at Saratoga on Saturday, August 23rd. Race 12, the Grade 1 Forego Stakes. It's a Breeders' Cup winning you're in. For the Dirt Mile division. That's interesting. 7 furlongs, but 2 turns mile at Del Mar. Yeah, that's pretty. Hey, listen, I shouldn't make fun of it. The Pat O'Brien's literally doing the same thing next week at Del Mar. 11 older horses in here, and Bookham Dano, who is my pick, has been my pick for about a month now to win the sprint. He's your 8-5 favorite. What are you doing with him?
I'm not trying to beat him. Not on the. Well, let me rephrase that. On the press tickets, I will not be trying to beat Bookham Dano. I am going to try and beat Bookham Dano with a couple long shots on the dollar ticket that I'm putting out here. Look, if you could build an archetype for a sprinter, isn't it Bookham Dano? Like a horse that is consistently, like, because you think about like the best sprinters that we've had in our lifetime, a lot of them are gate to wire horses, and then they get to the Breeders' Cup and they get absolutely cooked because there's horses that can run with them early that press them past their limits. Bookham Dano is just this horse that can consistently sit anywhere from 2nd to 5th to 6th into the first half mile, can handle it if they go 44, can handle it if they go 46, has a kick either way, never gets in trouble because of that style of trip, doesn't need the rail to win. I mean, this is just the archetype that you want for a sprinter. And I love Bookham Dano. I mean, Bookham Dano's been a horse I think I have probably picked 6 times in the last year and a half, right? Like, this is a horse that ever since came back over from overseas, I've loved. And I don't see any reason to get off Bookham Dano now. You can make a case that 7 furlongs isn't his best distance, but guess what? He's 3 for 6 at the distance. You can make a case that Saratoga is not his best track. He's 3 for 4 at Saratoga. Like, it's hard to really knock holes in him, especially when you project the trip, which he doesn't really need. Like, he should get an excellent trip, and he doesn't even need to get an excellent trip because he's so versatile. So for me, it's the 4 Bookham Dano on top. And then I'm going to use 2 others on the dollar ticket, but I do think Bookham Dano is tough to get around here.
So I'm taking a shot against Bookham Dano, and I respect everything you said. And I told you, this is my pick. If they run the Breeders' Cup Sprint, ever since he won the Vanderbilt, I mean, it was like sprint. Like, I want this horse. I was looking for any way to get future bets on him, couldn't do it, but I would love to take him to win that race. I think that 7 against this group, because he's got to face 10 horses in here, I think that might do him in just a little bit. But even his most recent 7 furlong race, the Grade 1 Churchill Downs over Derby weekend, he was on the worst end of a 4-horse photo where Mindframe came back to win the Stephen Foster. He's going to the Classic. Banishing's in the Charlestown Classic tonight. Nysos is the heavy favorite, or one of the 2 big favorites to win the Pacific Classic. Like, he was right there with all of them. I'm taking a shot again, and if he wins, hats off to him. But I'm also trying to just get some prices home. I went with the 7 Mulligan on top. Flavien Prat riding for Rudy Brisset. And this is a horse that I think now that we're at 7 furlongs, he can turn the tables on Bookham Dano after losing to him at 6 and 6.5 in the last 2. He's 3 for 6 with a pair of seconds going 7. He's never been worse than second in 3 starts at Saratoga. He had that win last year in this race. So he's the defending champion. He's coming in without any kind of respect. And I think he's a horse that can really take back to the track now that he's going to get a fast track and he's going to reunite with Flavien Prat, who was not aboard him in the Vanderbilt. Not that that would have made a difference. I don't think he was beating Bookham Dano that day, but I'm hoping he beats Bookham Dano and they can make this pick 5 pay a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to take shots in here, I'm all for taking shots. I think this is a bad shot. I think Bookham Dano is just proven better than Mulligan. So if I'm going to spread, I don't want to use Mulligan. I want to try and get past both of them and see if I can really blow it up. I watched the True North back. I don't even think that Mulligan was the second best horse in that race. We'll get to that in a second here. But like this is just a horse that I don't think is good enough to beat Bookham Dano. And a lot of times when you're playing these type of pick X's, leaving horses off that you have quote unquote covered because another horse you think is just better allows you to be able to throw out a shorter price and use a longer price. And so it's something I'll do quite a bit. I just don't see a world where Mulligan wins this race again. Last year, if you look at the Forego, it was a 7-horse field and Gun Pilot ran second. I mean, this is a much tougher field than Gun Pilot running second, right? So I think Mulligan's going to be up against it here. I agree moving back to Pratt helps, but he had Pratt in the True North and got waxed. And so it's hard for me to be like, okay, that Mulligan's going to find a world. And he, by the way, had a perfect trip in the True North too. And just Bookham Dano just ran him down like he was standing still. So it's hard for me to want to use Mulligan. I am going to use the 6 Crazy Mason at 10-1 out of that race. And this is where I think the 7 furlongs helps Crazy Mason. Like you've seen some of his efforts go in 2 turns. Those were pretty good. Has had a lot of success at 6.5 furlongs. Won the Carter at 7 furlongs before entering into the True North. The True North was first off the layoff. True North, he was just forever behind and was rolling late and was catching Mulligan in the final half furlong. Now you get that extra half furlong to try and close the gap. I'd rather take a shot at 10-1 with a horse that I can make excuses for in that race, specifically being first off the layoff. Chris Trawline through Bing Crosby. I mean, there's never a chance. The rail didn't help, was too far back. That racetrack was playing toward horses that were close that day anyway. So I like the price here on Crazy Mason at 10-1. I'd rather use him than Mulligan coming out of that True North.
Fair. That's fair. I don't know what to add. I went with the 2 Bishop's Bay as my second choice in here, coming off of a layoff, but has won last 4 races. This is a horse that started his career 2 for 2, and it seemed like going 2 turns, we're stretching it a bit. Depending on the competition, he can make it, but the 1.8 races, maybe just a touch too far for him. Even though he did almost beat Arcangelo, and he was a decent second behind a romping 2 fills and hit that horse's last career start. But as a 5-year-old, he's undefeated in 3 starts. He's cutting back from 1/16 mile races to go 7 furlongs here. We're not going to have Flavien Prat, but we are going to have Ira Ortiz Jr. aboard. And he's a horse that has shown to be tactical. He's going to be forwardly placed, but he doesn't have to be on the lead. You see, he likes to press. He likes to stalk. He can take the lead if they give it to him, but first time with Irad coming up now, I think is big. He beat a horse in the Salvatore Mile, surface to air, who is my long shot right now for the Dirt Mile, if they even go that way with him. Surface to air came back and won the Monmouth Cup on Haskell Day, beating Just a Touch, who was a 10-cent favorite Brad Cox runner, and then came back and beat First Mission in the Island Stakes last weekend. That horse is really good at Monmouth Park. So for you to have beaten him by almost 9 lengths in that spot, to me really stands out because that horse really, really good at Monmouth Park.
Yeah, look, I looked at both the Cox horses. It's crazy here because these 2 horses on the inside have raced 18 times. They hit the exact 18 times. And here we are at 5-1
yeah.
and 6-1. But they're both trying to cut back here. And so when I look at the 2, I look back to the races where they did sprint. You've got 1 sprint from Bishop's Bay, 6 furlongs, attended the pace, won by 3/4 length, and one sprint from Most Wanted, who went 7 furlongs and came from off the pace and was able to win by a neck in that first start. I kind of like the style of the 1 a little bit more than I like the style of the 2, and that's why I had the 1 slightly above the 2. But to me, this is very, very hard to separate either. I'm going to let Cox beat me in this race if they win. Like that kind of is where I came up with, because I couldn't overly separate these 2. I'd rather take a shot. than take a short price or middling price, I should say, on one of them. If Most Wanted wins, I'm not shocked. If Bishop's Bay wins, I'm not shocked. But they're two that I didn't want to put on the ticket. If only one was here, I think I'd be more tempted. But the fact that it's both made me shy away a little bit. I am going to use the 8 Scotland at a price here, 12-1 on the morning line for Bill Mott. This is another horse where, let's say this does come back, I think it benefits Scotland quite a bit. The first off the layoff effort was better than it looks. Ran on July 12th against going 7 furlongs over Saratoga's racetrack. That was a day where speed was just great, right? And Concrete Gary is a horse that's very fast, goes to the front, able to hold on gate to wire. A horse named Little Knee runs second. Little Knee has done absolutely nothing wrong, including winning graded stakes out of that race. And now you get Scotland showing up here in a grade 1. It's a horse they thought quite a bit of, has run in graded stakes in the past, ran in the Travers, ran in the PA Derby, but clearly is just a better sprinter. I like the first off at 5. That was the first off a very long layoff, so it didn't run between December and July. And now you get second off the layoff, second out as a 5-year-old with a pace set up in a race where I think this horse handles the distance well. It's 2 for 4 at Saratoga, 2 for 6 at the distance. You're getting a nice price at 12-1. So I'll take a little bit of a shot here with the 8, Scotland.
Yep, third choice for me as well. A consistent type. You know you'll get a good effort from him. Like you said, second off of a very long layoff, and he'll catch a fast track. He's 0 for 4 on wet track. He's 5 for 10 when he's got a fast dirt track. And that topic leads me to my long shot bomb play that might be completely wasting a bullet. But if you're a horse that is raced on dirt 6 times, you would think that in one of those 6 tries, Mike, maybe more than once, you would have gotten a fast dirt track. Over an Ollie in his 12th career start, 6th time on dirt, finally caught a fast track last time out. It was optional claiming, but it was 6.5. He'd never been a 6.5. He's never been on a fast dirt track. He gets a career best buyer, first started in the Dutrow barn. That's Dutrow's only winner at the meet. The guy that at one point was White Barrio's trainer because Saffy got in a bit of trouble. It's 1 for 30 at the meet. This is his one winner. Fast main track, 6.5 to 7 furlongs. You're getting Jose Ortiz to ride back second off the long layoff as well. Might be a complete waste of a bullet, but he's 30-1, and that's why he's on the ticket.
Good pick. I talked about this one on Beastin' at the Track. I think extra over an Ollie. If you're spreading in this race,
yeah.
If I'm playing a 50-cent ticket and I'm using the 2 last race, I'm using the 9 here in this spot. We talked about Claret Beret, and can we affirm a number, right? There's a bunch of different things going on with over an Ollie here, right? There's a switch to Dutrow, right? There is the fast track for the first time. There's a lot of reasons that horse could have popped. There's a lot of reasons that horse can move forward too. And so I agree with you at 30-1. There are crazier things. You mentioned the jockey roulette a little bit too. Mm-hmm. So Irad goes to the 2, Bishop's Bay. All right, that makes sense, right? So a shorter priced horse. Jose ends up here, which I think is awfully interesting as well. Now, Jose has ridden this horse once before, and in that race, this horse won at Fairgrounds by 8 lengths over a sloppy track. So Jose does know the horse. Again, same agent as Irad. So if they call and say, hey, Irad, you want this mount? No, I'm going to be on this horse. But hey, Jose's available. Like if Irad said this is a horse to worth ride, I think, again, this is one you want to get in there. The Dutrow barn can turn a horse around quickly. And so with the fact that it's the barn that has a tendency to be able to do that and then win another one off it, I don't think is bad. And 30-1 makes it one that I would not try and talk you off of. So I think that is a good use here if you're trying to spread around and see if you can get a price home.
Right after Michael Olson says extra Añejo, friends don't let friends bet extra Añejo. Why are we not using extra Añejo, especially at 20-1? He's a price.
Because he's never beaten this type of field. Because the race at the Churchill Downs, the grade 1, wasn't great, even though he should have loved the slop. Because this horse just never has lived up to the potential that we saw in the first race. We've never, comes out, runs a 92 buyer at Keeneland that day on October 13th, and never really improved off of that. You've got one off the layoff that he ran very well. That's the other thing with Extra Neo that I think is very interesting. You'll see this with some horses. His layoff races are his best races. Wins on debut, runs second at Churchill Downs in the next layoff, wins at Churchill Downs the next layoff, wins the grade 3 Commonwealth off the next layoff. He just runs better fresh. And so if I'm looking to play Extra Añejo, I want to play him fresh. I don't want to play him 4 races into a cycle, especially when I would have expected the third to be his best.
Yeah, he's He's one of those horses that he reminds me a bit of Hall of Fame, where it's like there was so much hype and it seemed like he's got so much talent, and God, he just throws them some clunkers that makes you just want to bang your head against the wall.
Yeah, this feels like a Baffert horse, even though it's an Asmussen horse. Right? Like
huge price tag, huge expectations. If it wasn't for the price tag, like, this is a damn good horse. But with that price tag and the expectations they had from the outset, you're like,
yeah,
why are you not doing this more regularly?
Usually when you have a horse that's 5 for 11 and made $621,000, you're pretty happy. Unfortunately, Extra Neho cost $1.35 million.
He's like a slightly better Hijazi. All right.
I would need extra tequila if I had bought that horse as well.
The fifth and final leg of this all grade 1 pick 5 mandatory payout sequence is the grade 1 Travers Stakes. And I don't want to hear any shit talking about how this is only a 5-horse field. I got my own thoughts on that. But as far as handicapping goes, it runs between 2 horses. Sovereignty, who is, if not the best horse in the country right now, is at least by far the best 3-year-old. He's taken on a horse he's never faced yet in Magnitude on the rail. Those last 2 races for Magnitude, they're ultra sharp.
They're very, very good races. Man, I wish Bracket Buster wasn't in this race, which is ironic. 5-horse field, and I wish one of the 5 wasn't in it. I also wish we'd gotten more horses here, because I've been saying Magnitude's going to win the Travers for 2.5 months, 2 months, like literally that long. And here we are, and I'm going to get 2-1 if I want to play a win bet. It's why I actually like the pick 5s and the pick 4s leading into this race, because I'm sticking to my guns here. I think Magnitude beats Sovereignty on Saturday. And we can get into obviously the reason why, but you're going to get around 2-1, maybe 5-2 in the win pool. You're going to get closer to 4 or 5-1 in the multi-race pools. How many tickets do you think go through Sovereignty in this spot? You're 80-90%. Like, it's going to be a massive amount, which means that if you're betting Magnitude, you bet them in the pick 5, you bet them in the pick 4, and you just single on the end. You don't even mess with anything else. And that's what I'm going to do to try and get a better price with Magnitude. I like Magnitude on top. The handicap for it, pretty simple. Look, Sovereignty has shown more speed the last 2 races. I agree. Those races were 112 to 6 furlongs. This race ain't going 112 to 6 furlongs. If Sovereignty tries to go the 110 and change that we're going to see Magnitude and Bracket Buster most likely go, I don't think you're going to see the same kick from Sovereignty down the lane. If Sovereignty decides to go the 112 that he's gone in the last couple races, he's going to be 10 to 12 lengths behind Magnitude. Can he make up that ground? Sure. Obviously a possibility. Is a phenomenal closer, but Magnitude hasn't come back when going 110 in either of those races. He keeps going, and that makes it a lot more difficult to go catch a horse like Sovereignty. I'm sticking to my guns here. I'm taking Magnitude. I think this is the setup, which is the worst for Sovereignty when you have a very, very good speed horse that probably can get pretty comfortable. Like, the other part of this, what if Bracket Buster goes? Because if Bracket Buster goes, he loses the race. If Bracket Buster runs second behind Magnitude, he's got a shot at running second. Probably third, but he has a shot at running second. So I'm going to take a shot with Magnitude here, 2-1 to close it out. If you don't like Magnitude, just play my tickets with Sovereignty. Like, that's fine. Just change it up and go that direction. But I want to try and take the 4 to 5-1 price that I think I'm getting in multi-race bets here with Magnitude.
Yeah, I'm not going to knock you for, because I knew you were going to pick Magnitude. You said after the Jim Dandy, I don't know if you were actually kidding or not, but you said in a text he's losing to Travers.
Yep. I've been saying for almost 2 months that Magnitude is going to beat him in this race, and that Sovereignty's not faced a speed horse like this. I think that's going to be difficult for him. Now, I was also projecting you would not have Bracket Buster, so that bothers me a little bit. I thought he was going to be loose on the lead, and obviously going to be a little more difficult for him to be loose with Saez on Bracket Buster. But Magnitude's got 110 in back-to-back races and kept going. He should be better than he was in his last race. This is second off the layoff. I think Asmussen's here for a reason with this horse. I'm going to stick to my guns.
It's funny, if you're betting Magnitude, or sorry, if you're betting Sovereignty, you're cheering for Bracket Buster to push Magnitude, right? If you're rooting for Magnitude, aren't you cheering for the 3 strategic focus? Like, how many times has Flavien Prat thrown elbows at Sovereignty now? Like, he just wants to go out there and do whatever he can to knock Sovereignty out. It's interesting to me that strategic focus shows up here. I thought, between Chance McPatrick and strategic focus, this is the one I thought should be in this race. Chance McPatrick, we said, in the Jerkens. That's a horse that needs to be 1 turn. Strategic focus, I think, is going to be a lot better as a 4-year-old. You look at the breeding, he's a son of gun runner out of a Curlin mare. Distance shouldn't be an issue for him. blinkers are going on because he had the lead in the curling and kind of just got lost out there, and Pratt's riding back after that. And so I think that's a little bit of an interesting move as well. I'm using Sovereignty. If Sovereignty loses to Magnitude, would I be shocked? No, because I think it's going to do exactly. He'll win the way you just lined it up. But Sovereignty is just such a cool horse. Now, this is the Graveyard of Champions at Saratoga. American Pharaoh lost this race. Big horses can lose this race and come back and win the Breeders' Cup Classic. So there are reasons, aside from just the price, to play against Sovereignty. But at this point, I'm just going to ride with Sovereignty. I know the price is 2 to 5, but say we get Scotland home in the Forego. Say we can get Claire Beret at better than 2 to 1 home in the Ballerina. Suddenly, this is looking like a little bit better of a sequence to pay out, and we're both pressing a little bit.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, it's you kind of have to make a decision in this race, right? And the question is, do you believe Sovereignty is going to win 80% of the time? If you do, then yeah, you just single Sovereignty. If you don't, then I think you got to look at Magnitude, because I think those are the two likely winners. If you wanted to use Magnitude and Strategic Focus, I don't think you're crazy, right? Just try and find a way around Sovereignty. But I don't like the idea of using the 1 and the 4. We talk about it a lot. Just using a really short price with a second choice, especially in a small field, dilutes down what your optimal payouts could be. If you're going to single Sovereignty, you got to find prices early. Like, you don't want to be singling Sovereignty, singling Torpedo Anna, singling Bookham Dano. Like, you're dead. That's just, you need to run perfect. And if you do, it doesn't even pay that well. So you have to be able to find a couple ways around some of those horses. And short field, Saratoga, speed, why not take a shot here is my take on it, because I don't think a lot of people will. I honestly think when it comes down to it, when people are playing the pick 5, there's going to be a lot of singles to Sovereignty, and that's going to create a better win value on Magnitude. So if I'm right in the rest, I hope I'm right here.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thanks for joining us to talk about the all grade 1 mandatory payout pick 5 at Saratoga on Saturday, August 23rd. It's races 9 through 13. It's a special wager. You can play through any of your ADWs, etc., and so forth. We'll give it out our tickets, and I'll go quickly because Mike has not 1, not 2, but 3 different tickets for you. So I've got a press dollar ticket here, 6-7 with 3-4-5 with 2-5-7 with 2-7-8-9 single to Sovereignty. That's $72. Start with your dollar ticket, Mr. Somich.
Yeah, we're going to go with a $1 ticket here, and I'm going to start it out with 6-7 with 1-2-3 with 3-5-9 with 4-6-8 with 1. So everything through the 1 here on my ticket in the last race Magnitude. Again, if you like Sovereignty, just throw the 4 as the last one. But I think the value is on the 1 here. $5 ticket, I'm going to have 4 singles. So only a $15 cost here. 7 with 1-2-3 with 5 with 4 with 1. I'm going to try and be right on those last 3 races and try and create the value around it. And then the $20 ticket, cold 5 singles here. So 7 with 3 with 5 with 4 with 1, $20 for that one. Total spending less than $100 in the sequence, with the idea that if I am right, then I can get paid out pretty heavily in this spot. So we're going to try and just nail a $20 ticket cold, Magic. Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here. Listen, there's pressing your opinions, and then there's pressing your opinions. And I love the aggressiveness. I love how consistently strong you've been with Saratoga. You've also been good with Del Mar. I know Saratoga's been, I think you've had more consistent payouts there, but some of your tickets over Del Mar have been strong. I know when I'm playing Del Mar, I now look at your picks at the Somobomb just to double check, like, who does he have in first? Because maybe you've got a price horse there that I didn't consider or was thinking, about leaving off. So if you're going to be playing Del Mar or Saratoga all meet long, you've only got a few weeks left to do it, but make sure you're checking out the Somobombs for those, and also check out the wagering guide, the Travers Stakes Betting Bible. That's available now on the Racing Dudes website, so check that out. Any kind of premium subscription, including the Somobombs, you get that included with your subscription. So if you want to play the Somobomb, subscribe to the monthly package, and you get the betting Bibles thrown in as well. I know that the dudes have been doing very well recently with those, so why not bet along with 3 of the sharpest handicappers going right now at Saratoga?
Oh, yeah, give yourself some credit. Last time we did this show, you cashed the pick 5 for what? $1,200, right? Something like that.
Yeah, 11. Yeah.
I think it was right in that range. Yeah. Real quick, Chris Smile, obviously always on the show. I want to make sure I mention this. Yeah, if you single Scotland, I do think you can use both, but I would also have a ticket with just 1, right? So I would want to make sure that if I'm playing like let's say $1 ticket and I have Scotland as a single, I'm playing a second $1 ticket with Scotland singled and then one of the 2 of them singled. I want to be pressed through one of those 2 horses. I don't want to have the same denomination on both when I'm going to that last race.
Pleasure as always, Mr. Somich. Thank you to Chloe for, well, just pretty much sleeping through the whole show, but at least she allowed me to do this show. And thank you to all the viewers out there for continuing to support us as we are now past 600 episodes here on the Magic Mike Show. Pacific Classic weekend is next weekend, so I assume we're going to take a shot at Del Mar then. Journalism versus Nysos, and probably 3 lambs sent to the fodder for that race there.
But hey, five in the Travers is a problem.
Okay, let's talk about that for a second. Number one, who wants to go get their ass beat by Sovereignty that's already gotten their ass beat by him? Like, Baeza, that's a smart move. They're not close to beating Sovereignty.
Shot. It didn't work out. Let's move on.
Exactly. The time for him to beat him was the Jim Dandy. Journalism. He's danced every dance. He just has been clearly second best both times. And why not stay home for $1 million race at your home track where the Classic's going to be, which is your ultimate goal at the Classic distance? Baeza. But the Pennsylvania Derby kind of presents its own problem for the Travers this year because Travers is $1.25 million grade 1 with a clear standout and a very clear second choice. The Pennsylvania Derby is $1 million at a distance that's better for 90% of the horses that might go to the Travers, mile and an eighth. That's is that a winner for the Classic? Even if it's not, it's $1 million grade 1 race. Like that's an infinitely easier spot, no matter how many horses show up, than facing Sovereignty and a magnitude that's been put back-to-back triple-digit buyers in the Travers. So I hate the slander on the Travers, people bitching about the field sizes. Who is supposed to be there that's not there?
Well, that's the thing. There's not a Pletcher that you're like, well, why is that Pletcher in there, right? There's not like there are horses or trainers that you usually would have horses from that just don't have horses that they can send there, right? Yeah. And on top of it, like, and this is something that we've talked about before, there's too many grade 1s. Like, there's just too many grade 1s. And what you have, you know, if this, let's say the Pennsylvania Derby was a grade 3, and this was a grade 1, and you had 1.25 and 1 million, the decision becomes a lot more difficult for a lot of these people, especially ones without black type or grade 1 placing, right? Now, because you have $1 million grade 1 with a weaker field, why would Gosker come here, right? Why would journalism show up in this spot? Why would Baeza show up? Like, everyone that you're saying, well, they're going to the Penn Derby. Yeah, of course they are. Like, it's a easier grade 1 for for 80% of the money. Of course they're going there. What do you expect them to do, right? So, look, we'll see what happens. But I don't. If this is the first time since 1994 we've had 5 horses, it's averaged 11 horses the previous 5 years. Like, everyone needs to chill their beans on this Travers thing is a problem. Sovereignty is the problem, and the fact that you have too many grade 1s. People don't want to run against Sovereignty, and there's other grade 1s you can go after. We'll say this too. This was interesting. So Fierceness is considering the Pacific Classic. God, I will have no clue what to do with that horse. If that horse is Pacific, I have no freaking clue what to do because Fierceness is gonna be like 5-1 in that race, and you're gonna sit in there like, I remember when he won at 16-1 in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Like, it's gonna be one of those.
He almost beat Sierra Leone over this track, course, and distance, like,
and ran a huge race. It's just like it's gonna be one of those very, very interesting moments. We'll see what happens. And the '94 Travers was freaking awesome. Holy Bull and Concern, man, that was a great race. One of the classic calls. Those cause for concern coming around the turn, and Holy Bull dug in like a champion. Man, but don't mind the 5-horse field when it's the right horses are fitting.
Is that the there's cause for concern race?
Yep. Yeah,
I thought so. An all-time classic call.
Yeah, if you haven't watched the '94 Travers, go watch the '94 Travers and see what a 5-horse field can do.
All right, we're gonna get out of here, but thanks again for joining us, and we'll be back next week for Pacific Classic talk at Del Mar. Been a pleasure as always. Have each and every one of you along for the ride. Can we get some clouds in here for Mike to yell at? I love it. Follow us on the Twitter machines. I'm at Curtis Kalleward. He's at Somobomb 18, number 1, number 8, where he's yelling at the clouds all day, every day.
There's no clouds here in California right now. It's just really freaking hot. I would love some clouds. I'd love a little bit of shade right now. We know no AC when you're by like, obviously this is a great like level 1 problem, right? There's no AC in my place by the beach in California, and so it's really hot in my house right now. Like not a first world problem of to the max there. But I would love some clouds to yell at right now, Chris. Okay, I would love some.
Yeah, 100+ degrees the last few days, and no air movement, no clouds. It's been tough. Anyways. We're back at Del Mar. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.